Hi, everybody.
Hi.
We're live here with Merida and Carrie from Lotus Pet Foods, and we are going to give a few seconds for everybody to start jumping on. Hey, Brittany, you are always so quick on the draw. Brittany is always the first to say hey. Hi, Brittany. Welcome on. We're starting to get some more people jumping on. Hi, Christine. Yes, Merida. Well, give everybody a chance to jump. We're starting to go up in numbers. People are starting to get on there for sure. Well, as everybody knows that may have seen this advertised, we're going to be discussing Lotus Pet Foods. And if you get a cat subscription box from us this month, you're getting a very big deal from Lotus Pet Foods, but you're also getting some special things in your dog subscription box from our friends at Lotus Pet Foods. And we're going to talk about some of those items today. And if you haven't gotten your subscription box, you can go on our website and purchase that now. You can either get a one-time subscription for just this month's subscription box, or you can get a recurring subscription so you get it every single month. Every month we'll have a different theme. And if you haven't heard about this month's theme yet, it is Build a Better Bowl. And the boxes are valued at over $60, but they only cost $29.99 and have a lot of good stuff in them for you to try out with your pet. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We still have people, it seems like, starting to rise in numbers, but we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll introduce you to Carrie Linnell, who is in Florida today and is our representative from Lotus Pet Foods, but we've known Carrie a very long time. And she just passed her anniversary milestone with Lotus Pet Foods. She's been with them for 5 years, which is a very long time. So
Thank you so much for having me, Allison. I'm excited to be here.
Talk a little bit about your history in the pet industry. What got you interested in the pet industry and brought you to where you are today?
Well, my son is here with me, so he might make an appearance.
That's fun.
But what got me started in the pet industry actually was
I pee-peed in my underwear.
Okay, you're gonna just have to go and fix yourself that way. All right. So I started in the pet industry right out of high school. I thought it would be really cool to work at a big box pet store and work with pets all day. And little did I know that I would not be petting dogs all day, but actually be doing some hard work and learning a lot of stuff. So I worked in big box pet store for 6 years and then moved to a smaller chain. I'm originally from Minnesota. So if you hear my accent during this, that's where that comes from. But I worked at a smaller chain in Minnesota called Chuck and Don's, which a lot of people are familiar with. They have kind of a big name, especially in the Midwest. But that's really where my love for pet nutrition blossomed. I thought I knew everything about pet nutrition when I started there, and I found out that I did not know much at all, actually. And through the 4 years working there, I met the president of Lotus, Darren, which I'll probably mention his name a couple of times because he is very important to our company. He's very hands-on. But I met him when I was opening up a new store there, and I mentioned to him that I was moving to Florida, and he said, well, you know, you've sold a lot of Lotus while working at Chuck and Don's. If you are looking for a job when you head down there, give me a call. So here I am 5 years later, still working for Lotus. I cover the section of the United States. So I have the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida, and then Eastern Tennessee. So that's where it's covered.
I will say to those of you who are with us, now that we have a nice high number of people who have joined us, that as we start going through information about Lotus in particular, please ask your questions. People who ask questions today on this Facebook Live will be entered to win either a month free of raw pet food for their cat and a month free of dog food for their dog. So definitely ask these questions because we're going to have a raffle. We'll raffle off.
Yes, so please ask your questions. I love interactions and engaging. Sorry, come here.
I will say, as you hear, Carrie has a toddler at home, and as all of us have had to adjust to having a virtual reality of having our children home from what they need to do in their daily jobs for at home, having to deal with kids in addition to having to do their jobs. So as you see, that is what poor Carrie's having to do.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. My kids were toddlers one day too, so we all know what it was like. Well, let's get into what sets Lotus apart and what makes Lotus different, and maybe cover the dry food first.
Yeah, so we are one of the only companies out there that makes an oven-baked kibble. So we have chosen to oven bake our kibble because it is a less processed process. So it's cooked at a lower temperature. So the internal temperature of the kibble only gets to about 160 degrees, which is just warm enough to kill off any bacteria in our poultry and all that, but still retain the nutrients. So that's really the most important part of our kibble is the nutrient retention.
Yeah, it is very cool process. And when you look at the pieces, you guys have both a small bite and then you have a regular larger bite formulation. They're both the same formula. It's just the bite size is different.
Yeah.
And when you look at it, it looks more like a baked bone or a baked treat.
I have a little sample here. So it's cooked the same way as like biscuits are cooked, cookie biscuits for dogs. So it's and let's see if I can get the right may or may not be able to see that. There's a little bit better. So this is our small bite. So it is quite small. And the cool thing about this is that it's pretty soft. So I can just break this in my hand and it just breaks apart. Like it just crumbles. So that's going to be really good for those dogs that have any teeth problems. And it's just very palatable because of the way that it's cooked. So it is, like I said, it's cooked the same way as a biscuit or a cookie is cooked. So really good for pets that are picky or are just kind of sick of what they are eating. They kind of think they have like a bowl full of treats. So they tend to really like it and stick with it.
And I think one of the cool things about the Lotus food, kibble in particular, is having seen, like if you take a couple of pieces of the Lotus and put it in water versus another competing kibble that's been extruded and been cooked through a different process, the Lotus crumbles and falls apart and just kind of dissolves, where the other one takes on water and expands.
Yes.
And so a little bit more digestible, especially for dogs who have a little bit more digestibility issues, more easily digested in the tongue. So very cool. I know you had, you wanted to talk some about the ingredients that you had in your food. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, where your ingredient sourcing and then some of the unusual ingredients that you include.
Yes, sorry.
Sure.
I need you to go into the living room, okay?
Bless your heart. That's my plan. Poor Carrie.
Okay, so ingredients. So all of our food is has meat as the first ingredient, which is very important to us. So meat being the first ingredient, and that's fresh meat. So in every bag of kibble that you see, 40% of the ingredients in there is fresh muscle meat, which is more easily digestible than, say, like a meal. So that's why we use the more of the fresh meat. We do have diets that are grain-free, and then we have diets that are grain-inclusive. So we kind of cover all the avenues there. And then we have our life stages. So we have puppy, adult, and senior. And then our grain-free diets are all life stages.
And I have a couple of those, the bags here. I have the small bites duck, And then I have the senior. And senior is kind of one of our favorites that we like. I mean, we love all of the Lotus kibbles, but we like to talk a lot about senior because it does work quite nicely for pets, dogs that are on prescription diets. It fits in quite nicely and it's a good transition.
Yeah, so it is really a good alternative to somebody that might be looking at the prescription diets or they've been prescribed the prescription diets. They might look at the ingredients and say, this doesn't look like something that fits my philosophy for feeding my pet or whatever the case might be. The Lotus Senior Diet is really good for any pets that have kidney problems because it's got very low residue. And that goes back to the fresh meat content of it. So because we only use fresh meat in the senior diet, the ash content or the mineral content is very low. It's only about 4%.
That stresses an already stressed kidney.
Correct. Yeah. So that's going to help. It's going to help a stressed kidney be able to process it easier because it's not overworking the kidneys. So it's also really great for dogs that have pancreatitis because the fat content is very low. It's only 9%. And then UTIs, dogs that have chronic yeast infections. So our entire line is going to be great for dogs that have any chronic yeast infections because I'm losing my train of thought.
The way the potato is baked. I know
yes, I don't know why I can't think of the word that I'm trying to say, but it helps kill off the yeast.
Yeah.
So any of the diets are going to be good to help for any yeast problems because the sugar content is low.
I find that we do very well with the Lotus line, and our customers love the Lotus products. So, with all of the recent DCM conversation and conversation about grain-free versus grain-inclusive, of course, here we have talked quite in depth about the fact that we don't believe that DCM is necessarily diet-related and think that it's a genetic connection versus a diet connection. Talk about some of the binders that are used in the Lotus kibbles.
So what's most important about this thing is your content of legumes. So we do use legumes in some of our grain-free diets, but those percentages are all less than 20%. So we're not using real high contents of legumes that are in there as the binder. And really kind of going back to the nutrient retention. So we know that taurine comes from muscles and organs from animal products. So when you use fresh muscle meat, you bake it, both of those in conjunction, you're going to have the amount of taurine that was left in the muscle meat still in the final product of a baked kibble. So so we do use legumes, but because it's processed different, it is different.
Anything else you want to touch on while we're talking about the kibble?
We're very transparent as a company. So anybody that has any questions, you the right answer, and not just the answer that you want to hear, but the answer that's true to our company. So, either whether it's through Facebook or through one of your staff members in your store, any questions we want to be able to answer for the staff, for your customers. So,
and it is sourced. The ingredients and meat sourcing is definitely not from China, and is
definitely not from China. Yes, so our kibble is baked up in Canada. So they have European Union standards in Canada. So we do source all of our ingredients for the kibble there. The lamb and the venison do come from New Zealand. And then our, we'll talk about the cannery in a little bit, but
that's a really cool thing. I can't wait to talk about.
Another thing that's really important to talk about when it comes with sourcing of ingredients and where they come from is the vitamin pack. So our vitamin and mineral pack is all sourced from, not just sourced, but made in the United States and made in Europe. So nothing made in China whatsoever. It's either made in the United States or made in Europe.
And so those who are watching, in case you have a question about the vitamin and mineral pack, when Carrie talks about that, if you look at the back of the bag, you're going to have, or the back of the bag, I say, the side of the bag. When you get down to the bottom, you're going to see a lot of vitamin and mineral content. Trying to look where I've got this. You're going to look down here and see a lot of vitamin and mineral content. That is what she is talking about. And these are the vitamin and mineral content that's added to make sure that it meets APCO guidelines, the nutritional guidelines, and make sure that it meets all of the nutritional guidelines set by APCO for your pet. So that's what she's speaking of. And a lot of times in other pet food companies, that can come from overseas and can come from China because they are a big creator, big supplier of those vitamin packs. So it is something to definitely pay attention to. Miscanthus grass. We had talked about that.
Yes.
I know you.
So we use miscanthus grass in a couple of our products. So we use it in our treats, which are soft baked treats, and then we also use it in our raw food for cats that you have there, and we're going to be having one for dogs that comes out soon too. But miscanthus grass is a non-GMO plant that is an excellent source of fiber, insoluble fiber. So I have a sample. This is what miscanthus grass looks like before it's processed. You can see that it kind of looks like bamboo, kind of, but it is in the grass family. So yeah, that's what it is. It's a pretty cool ingredient to help, especially in the raw food. It helps the cats have regular trips to the litter box.
A little bit extra fiber, just like regular grass is for them, for sure.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, that's a pretty cool ingredient. And then when we talk about the raw, we have some other ingredients that we'll talk about too.
Well, let's jump into the canned food. We touched a little bit up on the micro cannery and the importance of what a micro cannery is. And, you know, I think it's important to know that a lot of canned pet food is kind of made at the same place or the same few places. And so pet food companies that have their own cannery is kind of a unique thing.
Yeah, it is quite unique in the pet industry. There's only a few in the United States. We're one of them. I think we're the only micro cannery. And what a micro cannery is that we only have one line. So if we're making chicken and then pork is next on the list, the whole entire line gets shut down. They go through rigorous cleaning checklist and make sure that everything is clean before doing the pork. So it's in Torrance, California. That's just like southwest of LA. And we built it from the ground up in 2011. And the reason that we did that is because we could not find another canning manufacturer in the United States that would do our cans the way that we wanted them to, and that would be honest and trustworthy with us. So Darren and Chris just, they said, all right, if we're going to continue to put our names on this, then we need it to be exactly what we say it is. So cannery was built from the ground up in about a year. It's very cool to go there. We do take retailers there all the time. So, but what we do is we hand pack the only cat cans that are done in the United States. So, and that's the Just Juicy line of cat cans. I do have a little sample here to show you what it looks like. Yeah. So you have the salmon pollock and then the chicken one there.
Yeah.
But so by hand packing, we mean that we employ people to hand pack the meat into this can. So this is what it looks like. Yeah, you can see it there. So that is our shredded pork. And the reason that we hand pack is because it holds up the integrity of that meat. So that is just pork shoulder that's been shredded and then hand packed into the cans by a human to hold up what it looks like. If you were to put that same shredded meat through a canning line and it was manual or it was manufacturally put in there, it would not look like that. It would look, I'm not quite sure what it would look like, but it wouldn't look like that.
Yeah, it's a great thing for sure.
Yeah, so these cans, these Just Juicy cans, they don't look like cat food, they don't smell like cat food, and we have been known to come around stores and eat them. That's how good of quality it is. So, that's another thing in the cannery and as well in the bakery. The quality of ingredients that we put in there, not just sourcing it from great places, but really making sure that it is top notch, top of the line, USDA's passed and inspected for human consumption. And it's all stuff that you can just purchase at the grocery store. So when I was out in the cannery last, we were doing the shredded chicken. And they had packages in the garbage can behind me that were the same stuff that you can buy at the grocery store. So excuse me. No, you can't crawl up here. You want to help me with my live?
Yeah.
I think it is a really cool thing. And I don't know that I can definitely explain to our audience how important it is to have your own cannery and the importance of it, because it gives you such direct control over the ingredient quality, the quality of the end product, but everything from beginning to end. It gives you such a difference. And it makes such a difference for.
Yeah, I think it really does too. I mean, cats go crazy over these cans. I really think that they're one of the most palatable cans out on the market right now.
Well, and I think everybody can understand that if you have multiple foods being made in one facility, the chance for mix up and that kind of
Can I get up here?
is bigger.
The chance for mix up is bigger, yeah. So having the one line and being in full control. I mean, Darren's office is okay. You know what? We're not going to be able to do this, honey.
I want this. Mommy, I want to hear this.
Darren's office is literally right next to the cannery. So, and he has been known. He has been known to go in the cannery if they need help packing or doing any of that stuff. He's right there doing that. So I think that that's really great to have somebody that is so hands-on.
Mommy, I want blue one.
Okay, Calvin.
Mommy, I want blue one. I can have blue.
This is every parent's Zoom call. And every parent right now watching this can relate to you.
At least it's eventful.
It is eventful. Keeping the kids and the cats and the dogs out of the room.
Yeah.
So they can try to have meetings.
We need to see my face. Whoa. Okay.
I know that I of course have experience giving Lotus to my pets, and you guys have both the pate and then of course, like you were saying, the Just Juicy and the stews, which have more of a stewy, shredded, kind of straight out of. I mean, they look amazing coming out of the can.
Yeah.
My cats.
So what I think is really cool about the patés is that it's the same meat that is in the shredded hand pack cans. It's just ground up at the cannery. So I know that some companies, and I don't know who, but I think that some companies might, when they're making a pate, they use a pre-ground meat, which then you don't really know exactly what kind of meat is going in there. So we do all of that grinding at the cannery ourselves, which is awesome.
That is very cool. Now, one of the newest cans you guys have out, which we've just gotten in, is the green tripe. So I definitely want to make sure to talk about the green tripe because not everybody knows what green tripe is or ways in which to use it, but that's a good one to touch on. And our subscription boxes for dogs, everybody's getting a free can of the green tripe.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. So the green tripe is one of our newest cans. I think it is actually the newest can. But what green tripe is it is unbleached lining of a cow's stomach. So when you have it unbleached, we know that cows eat grass. It turns the inside of their stomach green. But in that is a ton of nutrients, which is really good for a ton of different things. So pre and probiotics, all that good stuff. And it's also really good for any kind of aging pet that may have lost their appetite due to any sort of ailment, cancer, or, whatever it might be. Green tripe is a phenomenal thing to either just feed as is, which you can with our cans because it's a complete diet. So I think there's only one other green tripe can out on the market that's a complete diet. Most others are supplemental feeding. So you can feed it just as is. It does have that vitamin pack in it, or you can add it as a topper. It's kind of got a pretty smooth consistency in there, so it's really good for topping on top of kibble, and you can mix it in really easily.
And it is a very strong smell.
It does have quite a strong smell, yes.
I haven't smelled y'all's tripe can just yet, but I mean, tripe in general does have a very strong smell. Yeah. I know that I've used it previously to trap dogs with because it does have a very strong odor and reach for miles. So be aware of that. It is great though for senior pets or for pets who maybe have lost some sense of smell. It can really attract them for dinner time. We do have a question here, and this is going back to the cat line. And Christine is asking, in the cat line, do you also do a kitten line? So touch a little bit on kitten. You guys don't have a kitten canned food.
We do not have a kitten canned food. And actually, we recently discontinued our kitten dry food because most cats in this world are cats. They're not kittens for long. So we do not have a kitten line, but it is all life stages. So it meets the needs and requirements. And what's most important for kittens is that it has the correct levels of calcium and phosphorus in there to help their bones grow. So the diets that we do have meet all of the requirements for all life stages. So you can feed it for a kitten through a healthy senior.
Okay. Yeah, and we do quite well. And of course, all of us here really promote a wet diet or a raw diet for cats because we do feel like it is the best way to feed cats based upon their highly developed kidneys. So
canned food is definitely any wet food that you can get into your cat's diet is extremely beneficial to them. Even if it's, one small can in the evening or whatever it might be, cats really should be getting their moisture from their diet.
Anything else you think we should jump into regarding the cans? Any other topics you want to touch on?
No, I think, really just focusing on the fact that we own and operate our own cannery and only use human grade meat that goes in there. It's really kind of the best stuff that you could be feeding your cats and dogs and canned for.
I definitely think those are the high points of recommendations from our standpoint with Lotus cans. And you may notice when you come in that Lotus cans are a little bit more expensive than maybe some other canned foods, but you see that you get what you pay for and the quality in exchange for that small increase in price is that you're giving your pet something that has really high safety protocols. And I think it's really important.
Yes.
Okay. I think let's go on to the cat raw, which is one of your products. I mean, other than the green tripe. This is a variety pack of the cat raw. I didn't bring all of the flavors out here, but we do carry this at both locations. And raw for cats is a really cool product. So let's talk a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I mean, we started a raw for cats because as a company, we really truly believe that is the absolute best thing that you can do for your cat. And we chose to do a bone-free raw, which allows us to add the calcium and the phosphorus into that diet at our own rate instead of just accepting what a ground bone rate is, essentially. So there's no ground bone in it. It is formulated to meet all life stages. So kitten through healthy senior is what the raw is formulated for. There's 6 different flavors there, which have all been feeding exceptionally well. It does come in a tub form. So this is the largest tub. This is our chicken for cats. That's the biggest tub that it comes in. So you dish it out with a spoon. And just kind of feed it that way. But there are some really unique ingredients in there. Kind of like the pate cans that we were talking about. We take the same type of fresh whole muscle meat and we grind it ourselves to put it into this raw food.
So the tub you held up would feed a typical house cat for about how long?
It depends on the protein. But, I was working with Jessica on this. One of these small tubs that come in the variety pack, I call this our single serve. So this is 3.5 ounces of food. So this would be what I would do. I would feed one of these in the morning and then one of these at night for an average size house cat, which, 10 pounds ish is average. So depending on the weight of your cat and the flavor that you're feeding, it is going to depend on how long that tub is going to last. So, but I think the 24 ounce should last about a week.
Okay. No, that is definitely good basis information.
Yeah.
And we say a typical house cat, but a typical house cat can range in size from 8 pounds up to 24 pounds.
Exactly.
On, the cat. So you definitely want to refer.
Yeah. So I believe it's around for an indoor cat. It's around like 22 kcals per pound of body weight a day that they should be eating.
And where is your raw Lotus made?
It's made at the cannery. So we have a big freezer room there. And that's one of the very unique things about the raw food is that we do make it ourselves. So we got this pretty cool tub filling machine. So we grind the meat and then put all the ingredients in there. And then it gets automatically filled with a machine that fills up the tubs. And then it gets the little plastic seal on it, and then the lid goes on there. And one thing that we should touch on is our food is HPP'd or high pressure pasteurized. We do send that off to another company, and they do that for us. And that is a kill process for any potential harmful bacteria that could be in raw food. So we do have that process in place.
And do you do that process after you make the formulation? So you mix it all together and then send it for HPP and then bring it back and package it.
Yeah.
And, for those of you not familiar with HPP, we do have a lot of our raw diets do have HPP in as a kill step for pathogens, just to keep them safer, mostly for the human component and for the serving component for your pet. It's not so much for your pet.
Yeah.
So it is a lot of our pet food communities who have the HPP process in place.
Yeah.
And so, for those of you, it is a very unique product, something that there's not a lot of out there on the market as far as the ingredient content, but then also it's a cat specific raw.
Yeah, so there are some other very unique ingredients in there. I will say that it all starts with fresh muscle meat, and then we have heart and liver in there, so that's what helps make it a complete diet. The synthetic ingredients in there are very, very limited. We do have vitamin E in there, which comes from Germany. We're using a tricalcium phosphate, and that is to put the phosphorus in there because you have to have phosphorus in a cat's diet, especially for the kittens. And then we're using eggshell powder for the calcium, so a natural source of calcium. And then just like our treats, we're using the miscanthus grass in there for insoluble fiber. And then there is also psyllium husk in there, which is a soluble fiber. So cats should not have issues with constipation eating this raw diet. I know that that's kind of a thing that cat owners worry about, is having a constipated cat on a raw diet. So hopefully those two things should combat any of those issues. And then we do have a really unique ingredient that is called Tarula yeast.
Can I go get my purple title monster much?
Yes. So Tarula yeast is a yeast that's grown very similar to like a shiitake mushroom. So the yeast grows on wood, and then it's harvested, cleaned, and then it's ground into a powder, and then that's what goes into the food. So and that's a source of B vitamins, thiamine, things like that are very important for the cat's health.
And I think cats are very difficult to transition to raw if they've not eaten raw. And so talk about some of your tips you have to transition cats to raw if they've been a wet food eater. Even more difficult coming from kibble, I think.
Yeah. So cats are imprint eaters. So really the best time that you can put a cat on raw is when they're a kitten. And they're eating ravenously and eat everything in sight. But if you have an older cat and you're looking to put them on a raw diet. Through my own personal experience, I have found that the easiest thing to do is to introduce canned food first to get that moisture down and get them used to the different textures. And then what I've done is mix raw in with the cans. You know, cats don't like change. They're persnickety, they're finicky, all this sort of stuff. So you kind of have to work with them to put them onto a new diet. So follow your cat's lead, but mixing and going very slow is going to be key for getting a cat onto a diet, raw diet.
And Christine has another great question. What is the advantage of raw food over canned food?
So raw food is raw at the end of the day, and all of the nutritional benefits of raw is really what's there. So the natural sources of the vitamins coming from the heart and the liver and the fresh muscle meat being raw. Cats are obligate carnivores, so you know they have not transitioned much from their ancestors, so they really do still need a diet that's totally raw and meat heavy. A canned food is great because of the moisture content, but at the end of the day, a canned food is cooked meat. So it does lose some of the nutritional value just by being cooked. And that's why raw is better than canned.
So, and I would add that enzymes, digestive enzymes and vitamins and minerals are very heat sensitive. And so the more you cook a product, the more you cook an ingredient, the more you can potentially pull out the nutritional value. So even though canned is wonderful and still has the moisture level, you are in essence cooking it, so you are reducing some of that nutritional value and killing off some of those digestive enzymes. And when we say digestive enzymes, when a pet eats, a lot of those ingredients that we feed them come with, if fed in the raw form, come with some enzymes necessary for digesting that food. And so kind of one of the best ways to describe that is when you talk about milk that comes from the store that we all drink, or that I don't drink, people drink cow's milk. If it's been pasteurized, it loses that digestive enzyme. And so a lot of people cannot properly digest it because that enzyme's been killed in the pasteurization. It's a similar concept when you're talking about food, and even more so when you talk about kibble. But as you said, cats are frequent eaters and can be really difficult. A cat will starve themselves just to prove it. Dogs won't do that. A healthy dog's going to eat eventually, but cats can be really difficult because they will starve themselves to make you mad. Not to make you mad, I shouldn't say that, but they will starve themselves. So you do have to be very careful when transitioning them, because if you have a cat that is not eating a raw food or a canned food, you can't just wait it out, because they really will potentially not eat and lose weight. So you definitely have to be careful when transitioning them over to raw food. But that would be my 2 cents on raw food over canned food. In the raw form, you still have those digestive enzymes and, of course, the vitamins and minerals in their raw form versus adding them back in. Nutritional packs and vitamin and mineral packs often have to get added. So I'll take that question down. And I know sometimes with raw food, we've also talked about, as far as transitioning for cats, searing it just a little bit on the outside. If you put like a little meatball or something in a frying pan and sear it on either side just to get it warmed up. The cats typically like their food warm with some kind of fresh prey feel to it, and so heating it sometimes works a little bit. Of course, it's still cooking it in some form. You ideally want to get them to eat it raw, but if you have to heat it a little bit as you get them transitioned, that's a good way to do it.
Yes.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can add about the raw food. You did touch on the fact that you have raw dog food coming.
We do. I'm not sure when it will be coming to the Southeast at this point, but it's going to be in the same form, same tub form. It's going to be marketed towards small dogs and as a topper. So kind of like your Build a Better Bowl campaign there. That's what's gonna that's what it's gonna be like.
Yeah, and I mean, we really do encourage people, because I know going all raw can be very expensive for both cats and dogs. And so even by way of putting in a complete and balanced base and then adding a topper, you're still giving the exposure to fresh whole foods instead of having to go completely fresh and whole. But it gives your pet better nutrition by adding to their bowl. And of course, that is our campaign this month for our subscription boxes, is to encourage our customers to build a better bowl for their pet, because there's so much that comes from whole, fresh ingredients added to that bowl, as we've said, not the processed added heat that kind of food. So we love having the Lotus Raw in our freezer, and we hope more people will go and buy subscription boxes to try all these products out, because there's so many products out there to be able to add. And I mean, for dogs, it's the same thing. Adding in a can on top of a dry, I think used to have this misnomer that it was a treat. And we still will encounter customers who'll say, well, I don't want to get started on canned food because then it's something I have to keep up with. And I'll say, well, why not? Why not have it be something you keep up with? Because that's a great addition to that kibble base, to add in something that is a whole food and closer to a more whole food, raw food type line.
Yeah, I think adding any raw, canned, freeze dried, any of that stuff is really great addition to kibble.
Let's talk a little bit about the treats. The treats for your line are a little bit newer. So touch on those a little bit.
The treats are really cool. They're very unique. They're a soft baked treat. So they are made at the same place that our kibble is made at. It comes in 6 different flavors. They're really cool because they're kind of right in between like a soft training treat and a crunchy biscuit. So when you look at it, I'll grab one.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't bring any over here to the table. I have some in my line of vision, but they're not here.
This is my dog's stash of treats here. So it looks, here she comes.
She said, you called?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what they look like. So they look exactly like our kibble. It's made with at the same cannery with the same dye. So, but the difference is, and these have been sitting out, so I don't know how soft they're going to be, but they're soft-ish.
Yeah.
That's what I call them, are soft-ish. So they really are right in between like a training treat and a crunchy biscuit. So they have a give to them. If you can kind of squish them and they have a give, but they're not going to crumble like a crunchy treat. But they have some very unique ingredients in there. The miscanthus grass that we already touched on. And then it has, instead of using like a generic glycerin or a vegetable glycerin, we decided to use a coconut glycerin just to be transparent and let you guys know where the glycerin is coming from. And then a very unique ingredient that we added is an aloe vera gel extract. So that not only has health benefits for digestion and gut health, but it's what helps keep the treat in that moist, soft-ish state.
And how many kcals per treat?
There's only 2.5 kcals per treat. So this is the turkey variety. It's got a little window here that you can see the treats. Really a limited ingredient here. It's turkey, potatoes, peas. Not much else in there than that. So
yeah, they're great for, like you were saying, that nice small size and location.
Yeah, they're great for training, putting in a Kong. My favorite thing to do for Scarlet, which is my dog here, I like to stuff her Kong with some of that green tripe can and layer. I'll layer it with the green tripe treats, and then I'll freeze it. And it's a really nice treat for her on super hot days in Florida, which is like every day.
A lot of days for sure. Well, ask anybody who may have questions still that wants to ask them to go ahead. Merida is being up and down today too, if it makes you feel any better about your little toddler. Merida's being a toddler today too.
Here is Scarlet. This is Scarlet.
Sweet Scarlet.
Oh, she's going for the treats.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, is that we've been sitting here saying words like treats.
Yeah.
Yeah, Merida's going to greet somebody at the door.
Yeah, so any questions, I love to answer questions. So if anybody watching has anything. Or anything that we didn't touch on. You know, we didn't touch on our cat kibble.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I do have some here.
Yeah, so the cat kibble has recently gone completely grain-free, which we know, you know, we've talked a lot about the cans and what's appropriate for cats. A lot of cat customers, you know, you can talk to them all day, but a lot of cat.
Oh no. There you go.
To feed kibble. So
there you go.
I had a call from it. Okay. So we know that raw is the best thing you can do for your cat. Like if we're looking at a pyramid, raw is at the top, and then you would have your cans, and then you have your kibble at the bottom. But most cat customers want to feed kibble because it's easy, and that's totally fine. But you really want to make sure that you're getting them a grain-free diet for sure. At a bare minimum, cats have to be on a grain-free diet, and that's why we switched out all of our cat diets over to grain-free. And then, truthfully, a baked kibble for a cat is going to be the best because of that nutrition or the nutrient retention in the cooking process. So all of like that taurine and the essential amino acids are all still there in the end product.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the cat kibble has done quite well for us as well, and there is a senior available in the cat as well.
It's a low fat.
Yeah.
Senior or low fat. Now, the cat diet will not have as low residue or mineral content as the senior dog diet has, and that's just because of AAFCO requirements for protein levels in a cat kibble. We do have to use meal in every one of those diets. There is fresh meat as the first ingredient, but there is also like a chicken meal or a fish meal in there. And that's what helps boost the protein in there. But what comes along with that is a higher ash content. So it's not going to be like the dog one is really good for dogs that have kidney problems. Our cat diets are not going to be the same for a cat that has a kidney problem. A cat that has a kidney problem should be ideally on raw, if not raw canned.
Okay. Well, and I know, I mean, cats do get addicted to those crunchies where they
do
crunchy in their bowl. I know I've talked a little bit about a cat that I had for 17 years. Don't have a cat now, but he literally used to cry at me if his crunchies were not there. He wanted to know where his cat food was. I think he got to feeling desperate if it wasn't in his bowl.
Yeah, they definitely get addicted to that stuff. So.
Well, is there anything else you want to touch on?
No, we pretty much went over the whole line here. So unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll say Brittany says that Ace, her dog, loves his Lotus treats, and she says she loves to put them in his Kong as well. They are perfect size for that, for sure. I don't have any other questions here, but you know, if people are watching this later on, later in the evening, definitely go ahead and comment, ask us any questions, and Carrie and I can respond to your questions that you might have about the line. Or if you have a specific issue that you're looking to fix, let us know, and we can definitely help you with that. Carrie, we appreciate you joining us.
Thank you.
And tell Calvin we're glad he joined us too.
I will.
It's definitely been every parent's struggle in the midst of all of this COVID-19 stuff to be working from home, so we can understand. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. We will be back here on Friday. We're going to be talking about cooling products for the summertime as we go into the warmer days, and talk about how you can use those with your pets. And we will be awarding 1 month free of the cat raw and 1 month free of dog food. And so if you watch this after we've already ended this live, definitely feel free to keep commenting. I will watch the comments throughout the day, and we'll award that prize tomorrow. So even if you're watching this after we've already ended the actual live, please still comment and question, and we can answer for you. So, well, Carrie, you have a great rest of your afternoon. Bye, Calvin, and we'll see you guys later. Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.